Hello students, welcome to the course on business regulations. In this class, we are going to learn about Competition Act 2002. Earlier, it was MRTP Act, Monopolistic and Restrictive Trade Practices Act 1969, but it has been repealed and a new act, Competition Act, has been put in its place. We find business competition in each and every industry. When an opportunity to offer a product or providing a service is found, I mean, when an opportunity to make money is found, many people compete to grab that opportunity, right? So competition is in the blood of people and competition is in the blood of business. So let us set the objectives of this study. We are going to understand how competition is regulated in India and learn what are unfair trade practices and anti-competitive practices and understand the role of CCI, that is Competition Commission of India. So it is the authority regulating competition in India. Before starting with the concept of competition, I will ask you a small question. Ready? Here we go. Using the Coca-Cola, you know, right? That soft drink. Using the Coca-Cola trademark on a soda container manufactured by a competing beverage market, is it an example of unfair competition? Do you think it is unfair competition? If you got confused, read the question again. A soda container is manufactured by a competing beverage maker. It is using Coca-Cola trademark. Is it unfair? Yes, it is unfair. It is trademark infringement. Coca-Cola company has registered its trademark with appropriate authority, but some other company is using that trademark on its soda container. So it is infringement. Infringement means violation of rules or whatever. So infringement of trademark. So competition in business should be a healthy one, not like this in the picture, grabbing others' opportunities, filling down others. No. Businesses should work towards achieving their goals, but together they should work in coherence, right? Now I show you a picture. By seeing that picture, you may be able to define what competition is. The picture comes up now. Seeing this picture, can you define what competition is? I give you hints. In this picture, someone is using ladder to go up. Someone is using parachute. Some people are running towards the bars, and some people are just watching what's happening. So we can define competition as the rivalry between companies selling similar products and services with the goal of achieving revenue, profit, and market share growth. So these bars, these colorful bars are revenue, profit, and market share. So businessmen are running towards achieving a higher revenue, higher profit, higher market share. So it is the rivalry between companies selling similar products and services. For example, in FMCG industry, Dabur India and HUL, Hindustan Unilever Limited. So Dabur India and HUL are competitors because they are both in FMCG industry. But this Dabur India and Infosys is a software company. So Infosys and Dabur India are not competitors. They are in different industries. But maybe Infosys and Dabur India are partnering because some of the systems of Dabur India are using the softwares of Infosys. That's another question. But they are not rivals. They may be partners. Okay. So they are operating in different industries. So they are not competitors. So like that, competitors are those businessmen or companies operating in the same industry competing for higher revenue, profit, and market share. So let us look at the objectives of the Competition Act 2002. It was enacted to prevent practices having adverse effect on competition. In business, always some healthy competition is acceptable and it is necessary for the survival of the business and for consumers. But if business houses start eliminating competition or reducing competition, then that has adverse effect on consumers and the society. So this act has been enacted to prevent such practices. And second one, to promote and sustain competition in markets. Suppose in an industry there is monopoly. Okay, there is only one company offering that product. In this case, people have to pay how much ever the company asks, right? The company will charge whatever price for the product and people have just to pay. So this is monopoly. But if there are two or more companies in that industry, then there will be some competition and different business houses will offer the same product to the public, and so they can compete with each other and bargain with the public and offer competitive prices, right? So in business, there must be some level of healthy competition, right? So to promote and sustain this healthy competition in markets, this act has been passed. And to protect the interests of consumers. This is another responsibility of the legal system, right? Protecting the interests of consumers. To protect consumers, a particular act has been enacted, Consumer Protection Act 1986. But whatever consumers face as a result of anti-competitive practices and unfair trade practices are dealt here in Competition Act. So the definition of unfair trade practices and anti-competitive practices have been given in this act so that consumers are benefited finally. And then to ensure freedom of trade carried on by other participants in markets in India. So all the participants, all the businessmen or all the companies in that industry have freedom of trade. That means they can have their own production policy, their own marketing policy, their own pricing policy, right? So they have freedom to trade. And for matters connected therewith or incidental thereto. So any other matter as directed by the government or which is incidental to all these four. So moving ahead, features of Competition Act. So let us look at the features. So this act prohibits certain agreements which are considered to be anti-competitive in nature. This means exclusive supply and distribution arrangements, tie-up arrangements, resale price maintenance, or in whatever form, if such practices are harming consumers, then they are prohibited. Such practices are prohibited. I will explain this later in the coming slides. Okay. Prohibition of abuse of dominant position. Suppose one company is in dominant position in an industry. That dominant company is abusing its position. For example, it is restricting production and supply of uh, the goods and services of the industry, or refusing to deal with a certain category of wholesalers and retailers. That I mean denying access to goods and services, or in any way if it abuses its dominant position, then it is called anti-competitive, right? So such practices are also prohibited under this act. Then the third one, regulation of combinations. Any sort of combinations, mergers, acquisitions, takeovers, amalgamation, whatever, if they are having adverse effect on competition, then such practices are also prohibited or regulated at least. Then entrust CCI the responsibility of undertaking competition advocacy, awareness and training about competition issues. So CCI's role is to spread awareness about anti-competitive practices, unfair trade practices, and give training about competition issues. So let us look at some of the definitions. First one, acquisition. Acquisition refers to directly or indirectly acquiring or agreeing to acquire shares, voting rights, or assets of any enterprise, or control over management or control over assets of any enterprise. Okay, so it means acquiring or agreeing to acquire shares or voting rights or assets or control over management or control over assets. The next one, agreement. Agreement means any understanding or action or arrangement. So, understanding, action or arrangement, whether in writing or formal or enforceable by legal proceedings. Okay. Number one, it should be formal in writing or it is enforceable by legal proceedings. So such arrangement or understanding or action is called agreement. Then cartel. A cartel is an association of producers, sellers, distributors, service providers or traders. So it's an association of producers, sellers, service providers, distributors. So these people, what they do, they make an agreement among themselves and they limit, control or attempt to control, limit, control or attempt to control the production, distribution, supply or trade of goods or provision of services. So it's a simple concept. Cartel is an association of producers, sellers, distributors, traders, retailers, service providers. Okay. What they do? They make an agreement among themselves. Why? Because they want to limit or control production, distribution, trade, etc. of goods and services. So such an association is called cartel. So we shall move on. Enterprise. Enterprise is a person or a department of government engaged in any activity relating to production, storage, supply, distribution, acquisition or supply of articles or goods or provision of services. So enterprise is a person or a government department engaged in activities relating to these: production, distribution, acquisition, etc. So next, goods. Goods means goods defined under the Sale of Goods Act 1930 and includes products manufactured or produced, processed or mined. Second one, debentures, stocks and shares after allotment. And the third one, goods imported into India. Then person. The term person used in this act refers to an individual, a HUF, Hindu Undivided Family, a firm, partnership firm, a company, an association of persons or body of individuals, incorporated or not, in India or outside India, any corporation incorporated by or any corporation incorporated by or under any central or state act, any body corporate incorporated, and a cooperative society. So all these are included when we refer to person in this act. Then bid rigging. Bid rigging is an agreement between enterprises or persons who are engaged in production and provision of identical goods and services for eliminating or reducing the competition for bids and to manipulate the process of bidding. You must have seen some tender notices in newspapers, right? So, if a government department invites tenders for a particular work, a number of companies bid for that, right? A number of companies offer to do work at competitive prices. If some companies come to an agreement among themselves to manipulate the process of bidding. I mean, to eliminate competition in bidding process, then it is called bid rigging, right? That is illegal. So if some companies do that in order to reduce competition in bidding process, then it is called bid rigging, right? Next, prohibitions. So the government says under this act, anti-competitive agreements including bid rigging are prohibited. So any type of anti-competitive agreement under section 3, like forming cartels, as I told you earlier, forming cartels, those associations to limit or control the production, supply, technical development, trade, etc. of goods and services. So such associations forming cartels are prohibited, and also bid rigging, making agreements in order to manipulate the process of bidding, is also prohibited, and directly or indirectly determining purchase or sale prices and limiting or controlling in any way the production, supply, distribution, technical development, etc. of goods and services, allocating geographical areas or goods among themselves so that they may not face stiff competition. So such type of agreements are also prohibited under section 3. So next category, agreement at different stages in different markets. So we shall see what are the types of agreements, tie-in arrangements. Suppose if the consumer wants to purchase certain goods and services, if he was made to purchase some other goods and services along with that, then it is called tie-in arrangement. So if the consumer wants to buy product A, he must buy product B. So these products are of different competitors. So such agreements are prohibited. Then extensive supply agreement. Sorry, it is exclusive supply agreement, not extensive. Exclusive supply agreement. This means restricting the purchaser in any manner in purchasing products and services of some other seller, right? So restricting the purchaser in purchasing goods and services of some other seller. So he is restricted to buy. The consumer has been forced not to buy goods and services of some other seller. So next, exclusive distribution agreement. This means limiting the availability of a product or service in a few geographical areas. So such products and services are exclusively available only in such geographical areas. So this is called exclusive distribution agreement. So such products and services are not available anywhere except those areas. Okay. Then refusal to deal. Refusing to deal with persons or classes of persons to whom goods are sold or from whom goods are bought. So refusing to deal with certain classes of persons. So this is called refusal to deal. This is also prohibited under this act. Then resale price maintenance, RPM, means maintaining the level of resale price when sold by a retailer. Suppose a manufacturer sells to wholesaler, wholesaler sells to retailer, and retailer sells to consumer, right? So here at every level profit is added up. Wholesalers profit margin, retailers profit margin, right? So at every level the profit margin is added up. So putting a restriction that the final price to be paid by the consumer, final consumer, should not be more than this much. Okay, that is called resale price maintenance. It means, to put it in simple way, restricting the price paid by the final consumer or maintaining the resale price level at every level of trade. Then abuse of dominant position. Abusing dominant position enjoyed by the firm in any manner. Like to give examples, directly or indirectly putting some unfair or discriminatory conditions in the purchase of goods and services and on the price of goods and services, and limiting or restricting the production and supply of goods and services, denial of market access to other competitors, and so on. Then combination. Combination refers to acquiring of assets or shares or voting rights or taking control over management or control over assets of a company. As per this act, no company or no business house is supposed to enter into a combination with such intentions. So no company is supposed to enter into such combinations with such intentions. So this will have an adverse effect on competition in Indian market. So such combinations are prohibited under section 6 of this act. So now we shall learn about the role of Competition Commission of India. Section 7 provides for establishment of CCI, which shall be a body corporate. It has perpetual succession and a common seal, and it can acquire, hold or dispose of property, and it has right to contract and sue or be sued in its own name. So it has an independent existence and has a common seal, and it has all the rights of an artificial judicial person, and it is the competent authority to regulate competition in India. And second point, who are in this commission? The CCI consists of the chairperson and not less than 2 and not more than 6 other members to be appointed by the central government. So not less than 2 and not more than 6. It means 2 to 6 members and a chairperson. All are appointed by the central government. They must have certain qualifications. Such chairperson and members should be persons of ability, integrity, and standing, and have special knowledge and experience of 15 years, not less than 15 years, in international trade, law, finance, accounting, management, public affairs, or such other discipline. And all these members and the chairperson are whole-time members. Then these members and the chairperson are selected from a panel of names recommended by a selection committee. So the central government appoints a selection committee to recommend names from which these members and the chairperson are appointed. So in this selection committee, the Chief Justice of India or his nominee will be the chairperson, and other members will be the secretary in the Ministry of Law and Justice and the secretary in the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, and other persons who have ability, integrity and standing and have knowledge and professional experience in international trade, law, economics, competition, public affairs, finance, accounting and such other disciplines. Then term of office. So term of office for chairperson and other members will be 5 years or 65 years, whichever is earlier. Okay, the term of office of chairperson and other members will be 5 years or 65 years age, whichever is earlier. They are eligible for reappointment up to 65 years. Then resignation, removal and suspension. So in case of resignation, the person should address his resignation to his head or the competent authority in writing, and in case of removal and suspension, the person to be removed or suspended should be sent an official order under the authority of the chairperson of CCI in writing. Then restriction on employment of chairperson and other members in certain cases. The chairperson and other members are restricted on employment in certain cases. This means that chairperson and other members are not supposed to take any employment after they cease to hold office with any enterprise with which he has dealt with before preceding the commission. Okay, so the chairperson and other members are not supposed to take any employment relating to the administration or management if he has dealt with the same company when he was in office. Then administrative powers of chairperson. The chairperson has all the general powers of superintendence, direction and control in all the administrative matters of the commission. He can delegate such powers to any other member or officer of the commission. Then salary and allowances and other terms and conditions of service. This chairperson and other members get various allowances like house rent allowance, traveling expenses, conveyance facilities, sumptuary allowances, that is for expenses of living and medical facilities. So such provisions are there in the Act. So salary, allowances and terms and conditions of service are provided for in the Act. Then vacancy, etc., not to invalidate proceedings of the Commission. This means that if any member's office falls vacant due to resignation or suspension or any other reason, then the orders passed by the Commission will not become invalid. The orders will be valid. And the proceedings of the Commission is also valid. Proceedings are not invalidated. Proceedings are always valid. Okay. So, due to the reason that some members or chairperson's vacancy or his office has fall vacant, the Commission's order or proceedings will not become invalid. Then appointment of Director General. The central government has powers to appoint Director General in order to assist the Commission or perform such other functions as may be prescribed. So the Director General may assist the Commission in conducting an inquiry into the contraventions of provisions of the Act or any other functions. Okay. A number of additional joint, deputy or assistant director generals may also be appointed under the office of Director General, and those persons shall perform the functions as may be prescribed. So next, Competition Appellate Tribunal. So we shall see the tribunal is formed to hear the appeals against any direction issued or decision made or order passed by the Commission. So if the Commission has passed any order or Commission has made any decision, if the opposite party wants to make any appeal, he can go to CAT, Competition Appellate Tribunal. And the tribunal will adjudicate on claim for compensation. Okay. So this is quite a long sentence. I'll put it in simple words. Competition Appellate Tribunal can adjudicate a case which is a claim for compensation. So that compensation may be ordered by the Commission, or it may be an appeal against the findings of the Commission, and the tribunal can pass orders for recovery of compensation. Okay. So if the Commission has ordered for paying compensation to the party, the opposite party can appeal against it in tribunal. Then qualification of chairperson. So in Competition Appellate Tribunal, chairperson must be a judge of the Supreme Court. So a person who is or has been a judge of the Supreme Court or Chief Justice of a High Court. Other members of the tribunal must be of ability, integrity, and standing and have special knowledge and professional experience of not less than 25 years. And coming to the tenure of chairperson and members, it is 5 years for both. For chairperson, the tenure is 5 years or 68 years, whichever is earlier. For other members, it is 5 years or 65 years, whichever is earlier. And all are eligible for reappointment up to that age. Then disqualifications. The central government, in consultation with Chief Justice of India, may remove from the office of chairperson or other member in some cases. So they are called disqualifications, like if the person is adjudged an insolvent or engaged in any paid employment, if the person is engaged in any other employment which is of profit, then the central government may remove him from the office of chairperson or member, or he has been physically or mentally incapable of performing his functions. So if has become physically incapable or mentally incapable, like a lunatic, he cannot perform his functions, so he may be removed. That's a disqualification. He has been convicted of an offense involving moral turpitude, and if he has abused his position causing detriment to public interest, and in such other cases. So he has worked against public interest, he may be removed. So in such other cases, the central government may remove the person from the office of chairperson or other member. Then the offenses and penalties. So there is penalty for contravention of orders of Competition Commission. Section 42 provides for imposition of penalties for contravention of orders or directions issued by CCI. So if any person fails to follow the orders or directions issued by the commission, he will be penalized. Then compensation in case of contravention of orders of commission. Any person may be ordered or directed to pay compensation to the opposite party in case if he has suffered any loss or damage due to the contravention of orders of commission. So To put it in simple words, if a person has suffered any loss or damage due to contravention of orders of CCI, then he has right to receive compensation from the other party as per the provisions of the Act. Then penalty for failure to comply with directions of Commission and Director General. CCI has the same powers as vested in a civil court as per CCP, Code of Civil Procedure 1908, to perform the functions as prescribed under this Act. So CCI has the same powers as of a civil court in order to perform its functions. So if any person doesn't comply with the directions of the Commission and Director General, CCI may act as a civil court. That means it can ask the party to produce documents and it can receive evidence on affidavit. It can examine witnesses, etc. Penalty for non-furnishing of information on combination. If a business house fails to furnish information relating to a combination with some other company, CCI may impose penalty up to 1% of the total turnover or the assets, whichever is higher, of such a combination. Penalty for making false statement or omission to furnish material information. If any person makes a false statement to the Commission or omits to provide any important information, then such person may be penalized up to not less than 50 lakhs and it may extend to rupees 1 crore. Then penalty for offences in relation to furnishing of information. Suppose any person destroys, suppresses, willfully alters any document or commits any such offences like omitting to provide important information or uh, making a statement uh, though he knows it is false. So for such offences, penalty may extend up to rupees 1 crore. Then power to impose lesser penalty. In case producers, distributors, suppliers or any business people have made full and true disclosures, then the Commission may impose lesser penalty. So the Commission has powers to impose lesser penalty than provided in the Act. So CCI has such powers. On contravention by companies, If companies have contravened the provisions of the Competition Act, then all those managers, directors, officers who are controlling the affairs of the company will be penalized. In case such officers or managers or directors prove that such contravention has happened without their prior knowledge, or they have exercised all due diligence to prevent such contravention, then they are not punishable. So it means those persons, directors, managers, or officers prove that they are not at fault, then they are not punishable. And thank you, students. This had been an excellent class, and congratulations on your learning the major provisions of Competition Act. And for any clarification, if you have any doubts or queries, you can WhatsApp me at my number or leave a comment in the comment section. Thank you, students. Thank you once again.